Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Filling in the gaps in dental care. The federal government has announced details of its national dental care plan to launch in the new year. Well, has dental care been a challenge for you? And what is the impact of not being able to go to see a dentist? After 12:30, exploring the outdoors, BC is a winter wonderland. We'd love to hear your best experiences and what do you still want to try? What's on your BC winter bucket list? I'm Michelle Eliot. Welcome to BC Today. Thank you for joining us on CBC Radio 1 and live streaming on CBC News, cbc.ca/BC, and on the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. The $13 billion dental insurance plan will cover routine dentistry costs for people with a household income below $90,000 and no access to a private insurance plan. They must also have filed a tax return. It will begin with covering kids under 18 and some seniors first, before expanding the program to eligible low and middle income Canadians in 2025. Burnaby North Seymour MLA Terry Beach is Minister of Citizen Services, and he said the government believes up to 9 million Canadians will qualify. The program will be phased in stages, and here he is explaining the process.
We have made sure to enroll people in phases in order to make sure that we are able to do that in a responsible way. Seniors 70 and up will start receiving invitations to apply via the mail and only via the mail, starting December 18th through to March 2024. To be precise, individuals 87 years old and up, their letters will be going out this week. 77 and up in January, 72 in February, and 70 plus in March. Those individuals will receive a letter in the mail with instructions on how to enroll. The first group, all those seniors 70 and up, will sign up using the telephone. They will need their SIN number and a unique code that will be included on the letter that will be sent to them in the mail. As part of the application, they will have to attest that they don't currently have access to private or employer family dental plan. Service Canada will then pass on the information of individuals who qualify to the third-party administrator, Sun Life. Sun Life will then send a welcome package that will include the services that will be covered, a member ID card, and their coverage start date.
That's Minister of Citizen Services Terry Beach speaking this morning. And as he said, people 87 and up will start getting letters this week, wrapping up with people 70 and up by next March. Well, we'd like to hear from you. We're asking, what's been your experience in accessing dental care in BC, especially if you don't have that private coverage? And what would expanded dental care mean for you and your family? We'd love to hear from you. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. You can also email bctoday@cbc.ca. Joining me to take your calls is Dr. Brandon Doucette. He's a dentist and founder of the Coalition for Dental Care. He's also author of the book About Canada Dental Care. And hello to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What's your reaction to this program?
This is very exciting news. The Canadian Dental Care Plan will be the largest investment in dental care in Canadian history. Now, to put that in context, only about 6% of public dental spending in Canada, public dental spending only accounts for about 6% of overall dental spending. This is one of the lowest rates amongst developed countries, ranking even worse than the Americans. So our starting point is very poor, but the fact that we're moving in the right direction is definitely, this is exciting news. And I think we need to see this as a stepping stone towards a truly universal system.
And is that number or percentage so much lower because of the coverage provided by workplace and private insurers?
So we see over 1 in 3 Canadians lacking any form of dental insurance. So, people have private dental coverage and a lot of the costs are coming out of pocket, but there's also large segments of the population who have no insurance. And there's also a lot of people who are covered by private plans who still struggle to pay the co-payments, the out-of-pocket expenses. So having insurance doesn't necessarily mean you have access to dental care.
And what is the impact of of limited dental care?
So limited access to dental care results in, it can take many forms. Sometimes that's someone avoiding a dental cleaning. Other times it's people only going to the dentist when they're in pain. And for my instance, as a dentist, I've seen plenty of people who've tried to extract their own teeth because they were unable to even afford emergency dental care. And, when people have to neglect these preventative services and early intervention, their oral health worsens as a result. So, when people have missing front teeth or visible decay, it can be harder to find employment. There's many social implications, but also poor oral health extends beyond that and affects our overall health, worsening heart disease, diabetes, increasing the rates of aspiration pneumonia, as well as many other impacts on our overall health. And we also see people when they lack access to dental care, they end up in emergency departments with dental pain, which accounts for about 1% of all emergency room visits, which, these people don't actually have the problem fixed there. They often just receive an antibiotic and pain medication, which uses up tremendous healthcare resources and doesn't actually fix the problem. So I'm really hopeful with the Canadian Dental Care Plan that we can start to fix some of these problems.
And let's talk about this plan now and its specifics. It will cover people with household income of $90,000 and under. And there will be increments in terms of coverage as well. So people who have $70,000 a household income would face no co-pays for a participating dentist or hygienist or denturist. And if your income goes up beyond up 80,000 and above, you face a 40% copay, and up it goes as well. What do you make of the way they have determined coverage here, and starting with kids and seniors as well?
So ultimately, I don't think this should be a means tested program. I think everyone deserves access to dental care, but this is still a major step in the right direction and can still potentially be a stepping stone towards something greater. There will be limitations on the actual insurance coverage. The exact details are still yet to be seen. But it's not like your health card where, you might have a heart problem early in the year, and then, you break your arm later in the year and you're not worried about using up all your dental coverage. It'll, the Canadian Dental Care Plan will look more like a work-related insurance plan in the sense that will have yearly limits, which I don't think is ideal, but we still are seeing progress in the right direction. And I think we just need to try to harness this momentum, because I do think that this is going to be a very popular program once people actually start receiving benefits, and try to use that momentum and harness that towards, building a truly comprehensive and universal dental care system.
And why do you think it should not be means tested?
First of all, I think when you have these patchwork programs, public and private, you have gaps created between the two. Also, just having insurance doesn't mean you necessarily have access to a dental provider. So I think we need to address some of those other problems. Say people in long-term care settings or people with disabilities struggle to access private dental clinics. So we need to look at alternative dental delivery models. And we also need to look at the politics of these programs. It very much matters, because when you have some people eligible for the program and others are not, you have resentment created from people who pay into the program but are not eligible for it. And it makes a window of opportunity where you can undermine these programs, de-index the income cutoffs and the fees the programs pay out from inflation, which result in these programs being undermined with time, which is why we see many of the provincial programs so meager, many of them paying around half of what private plans pay, and only covers emergency procedures like extractions. So we often see people on these programs struggling to find a dentist who will accept them. So I really think that the Canadian Dental Care Plan, even if it starts off pretty decent, it won't be perfect, but pretty decent in comparison, over time it can be eroded and chipped away at, whereas universal programs receive broad buy-in from society writ large, and receive much broader backlash when you try to underfund them and cut back on them, which make them more stable politically.
Well,
And we also know that universal healthcare costs less than these public-private mixes. Canadian healthcare costs a lot less and delivers better results than a private US healthcare system, which is kind of what we see with dental care as well. We spend a lot and we don't get good results.
could we look at longer wait lists then to go into a dentist, the more people who are covered by this plan?
I think we need to start looking at dental care and prioritizing what's needed. So if we are going to see longer wait lists for people who want luxury and cosmetic services over, in favor of treating people who are dealing with pain and infection, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I don't necessarily think that it'll create longer wait lists for routine dental care. I think there will be people under the Canadian Dental Care Plan. The fine details of it
Okay.
will make a difference for dentists' willingness to uptake people in these programs. Because, as I said, many of the existing programs pay half of what private plans pay. So they struggle to find a dentist who will accept them. So we need to know the
Right.
exact details for.
Just to clarify, though, I don't see cosmetic services covered on this under this plan. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So,
Okay.
but for people who have private plans, they will still be able to access dental care as they normally do now. They will not be affected by the Canadian Dental Care Plan. But many dentists prioritize those luxury and cosmetic services in the private market because
I
they're able
see.
to make more money off of that,
Okay.
which may make it harder for people in the Canadian Dental Care Plan to find the chair time from a dentist to see those people.
I see your point. Okay, thank you very much for that. My guest is Dr. Brandon Doucette, a dentist and founder of the Coalition for Dental Care, author of About Canada Dental Care. We are asking you, now that the federal government has launched and announced details of its $13 billion national dental care program, starting with kids and seniors, and this will start to be rolled out starting next year. What do you think of that? What has accessing dental care been like for you? And what would expanded dental care mean for you and your family? I'd love to hear from you. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. And you can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. Email is bctoday@cbc.ca. And Tasha is joining us from Burnaby. Hi, Tasha. Welcome to the show.
Well, hi, this is a great day, and I'm especially thinking of my parents who are both frail, elderly, and don't have dental coverage. And I believe this will be very, very helpful for them, because one of them can't even get out to the dentist, and a neighbor has, but they pay out of pocket. They have a hygienist that comes to the house and looks after their bedbound mother. And I'm hoping that maybe something like that would be helpful, because we know that if the frail elderly get an infection, a dental infection, it can really take them down. It can become systemic. And we're worried about this and don't have, they don't have insurance, and their children are worried, and we're doing what we can to get them help. But, this is why I like my tax dollars going to something that's going to help people in the community, and I'm glad that they're starting with the eldest and the youngest. It's very important. Dental care is health care, and we need that. So I'm pleased. I'm very pleased today, and I thank you for talking about this wonderful initiative.
Thank you very much for your call, Tasha. That's Tasha joining us in Burnaby. Justin is up next now in Nanaimo. And what has accessing dental care been like for you, Justin?
Oh, I don't have too many problems with it. I was just wanted to talk about relatives and stuff, handicapped and disabled and stuff like that. So my brother, he is an addict, and my cousin is an addict, and they both have disability because they are addicts. So they will be totally covered by that as well, because all the drugs that they do and stuff like that, their teeth are rotting out of their head. And I just wanted to make sure that that they're all covered. Is that going to be a thing too, that they're all covered, everybody with disability?
It is an income base, so you'd have to be making under a certain certain yearly
that's
income.
Great. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to know.
Yeah.
But that's great that the working people, like guys that are really struggling every day out there to get it and don't get it, but yet people like that get it again, right?
Yeah, it'll be
Everything
interesting
seems to be
too,
free.
because Justin, I don't know, the situation for your brother and your cousin, but what the Minister of Citizen Services said this morning is that you will have to have filed a tax return in order to be registered automatically, and they will mail out, starting with the seniors anyway, but you will have to have filed a tax return. But in terms of access for people, depending on where they are. That might be a question for those details that are coming out. But as we know, as far as we know, people with a valid disability tax credit certificate and children under 18 will be able to apply starting in June 2024. So that may be relevant for you there. But good to hear, hopefully, that that's something that your relatives can access. Justin, thanks so much for the call. As Justin joining us from Nanaimo, and Mark joins us now from Burnaby. What are your thoughts about dental care and barriers to accessing it, Mark?
I am really glad that this process is now underway. I have never suffered from lack of access to dental care. When I was a boy, I made a best friend at public school, and he was a visible minority. I didn't realize it at the time. I really wasn't aware of, different issues surrounding that when you're a kid. And his family did not have the same family income that mine did. And, over the years, you drift off to different high schools and you meet up again. And I became aware that he was losing his teeth. And since then, he lost almost all of them. And, so this is more than just a generation behind. It affected me. My best friend doesn't have any teeth. And it's a gut-wrenching feeling when you realize that they don't have access. And something, is wrong in this country when that happens. And the $13 billion, they're not having to spend all of that in the sense that by generating a greater opportunity for those to prevent, hiring practices where some people might look at that and say, do I want to hire this individual that doesn't have any teeth? Well, if he had had that opportunity, maybe he would have been able to better earn an income. He's a great guy. He's never been, known to police or anything like that. He's one of my best friends, has always been for 40 plus years. And, I just wish that he had had that opportunity then. But at least it's not, there are now measures in place. And if you look at it from the economic side as well, I have experienced a need for social services from time to time, and my friend has, and I would expect, I don't always ask him about the details because it's long sort of past, but there's probably funding at some point for people that need access to that. So I'm glad to hear that they're finally committed to this through the help of, obviously, the NDP federal party had a large say in how this process
It was one of their conditions, right, for their
they're supporting
agreement.
The government.
Yep.
And I happen to live in the electoral district of the leader, Jagmeet Singh.
You're in Burnaby there, yeah.
And I've moved around a lot, but I've worked as a federal employee. I've recently retired, and I've always had access, and it's never been an issue for me.
It sounds like your friend has made a real impact on you, though, and thinking about what he could have had access
but,
to.
You can't downplay losing all of your teeth.
Yeah.
And it hurts me to this day. He's okay with it, but I'm not okay with it. So,
Mark,
it is what it is, but
yeah.
it's about time that this happens. So I'm just glad that it started finally.
Thank you very much for your call, Mark. And there's someone who's been an impact. He said, Dr. Doucette, he said, this was someone who was my friend. Look at the different outcomes based on having access to dental care, right? I want to go to something he touched on, which is sort of the cost-benefit analysis. $13 billion is the cost for this program overall right now. When you look at what that will cost Canadian taxpayers versus what might be the benefit, how do you weigh those things?
So the $13 billion is over 5 years, and that's kind of a drop in the bucket as far as overall healthcare spending. And we also need to look at the savings of funding public dental programs. So we see 1% of all emergency room visits are for people with dental pain. That accounts to over $150 million per year in in spending on this problem without actually solving the issue. So when people can go to the dentist, we'll see a dramatic reduction in these visits. When people also have better oral health, we're going to see reduced, heart disease won't be as bad. There'll be, diabetes complications will be less. There'll be fewer rates of aspiration pneumonias because there's so many interrelations between our oral health and our overall health. And from the last guest as well, them talking about the previous guests of people struggling with addiction and access to dental care. There's actually a very interesting study where they looked at providing comprehensive dental care to people struggling with addiction. And what they found was that it actually resulted in this population being less likely to be homeless, more likely to find employment, and more likely to abstain from drug use. So really what I see access to dental care as is giving people a fighting opportunity to live a dignified quality of life, which is better for those individuals, but also for society as a whole. People won't have to be relying on social assistance programs and other programs because they won't necessarily it'll help them break that cycle of poverty.
Let's take one more call here. Lorraine, is in Chilliwack. Hi, Lorraine. Welcome. Hi, Lorraine. Can you hear me? Lorraine, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thanks so much. What did you want to say about accessing dental care?
It's a great day. I'm just very pleased. It's my father's low income. He's in long-term care. He can't afford dentures. And because I spend a lot of time there, I see a lot of seniors without teeth. I mean, this is long overdue, and I want to thank all three political parties for making it happen. It's time. I mean, we know that your dental affects your heart. Just like your last person just said, it affects your well-being, getting a job. The pain seniors must be in when they're in a lot of pain with their teeth.
You're thinking about your father.
Yeah, and all the seniors. I see a lot of seniors that don't have teeth and they're struggling to eat. Our teeth are part of our medical. I don't understand how we said our glasses and teeth don't fit under medical. It should be it's the whole body.
Lorraine, thank you so much for your call. I understand you're about to go see your father right now?
That's right.
Is that right?
Yeah, with good news for him.
Well, there you go. All the best to him, okay? Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
That's
Bye.
Lorraine in Chilliwack. And email here from Chris in Castlegar who writes, I have the public service dental plan, but it's pretty miserable. It maxes out at $1,500. This year, I needed my dentures replaced. It cost $3,000. Makes a huge difference in quality of life. What's the plan for inadequate dental coverage? I'm a senior with relatively modest income. I don't know if you're able to address that at all, Dr. Doucette, in terms of what this may mean for someone like him who's already, it sounds like, is on the provincial plan right now.
So this is actually very exciting news and something that the original NDP dental plan wasn't like it didn't actually include people eligible on the existing meager public dental programs. But after speaking with Don Davies from the federal NDP, we were able to kind of make him realize that a lot of these existing public dental programs are very meager, and that making people under these programs be eligible for the Canadian Dental Care Program will help them replace their piecemeal coverage that in many instances only covers part of the cost to, say, get your teeth extracted, and see that kind of piecemeal coverage replaced with more comprehensive coverage. So people under the public dental programs who meet the age and income thresholds will be eligible for the Canadian Dental Care Plan. Now, if you have private dental coverage, you will not be, unfortunately. But for those with the meager public dental programs, they will see that coverage be enhanced with the Canadian Dental Care Plan.
There have been some concerns expressed that private insurers may start to offload clients then, and if there is this plan to sort of fill the gap, is that a legitimate concern?
So I know that Canada Revenue Agency has added a line to tax filings this year for employers to like mark down if they provide dental insurance to their employers, which will hopefully create it so that if these businesses do stop providing dental insurance and try to off-put that cost onto the public dental program, we'll be able to track that because they have to report whether or not they provide dental insurance to people. And then those businesses can be taxed accordingly.
And finally, just in our last 30 seconds here, what will you be watching for then to ensure that this would be considered a success?
So first is that all the people who are below the income threshold will be eligible for the program before the next election in 2025. So that's around 9 million Canadians. The coverage needs to be as comprehensive as possible, and the fees the programs pay out need to be as close to private plans as possible so that dentists will not discriminate against these people and people won't have a hard time finding a dentist willing to do the work.
Good to speak with you today for your reaction to this announcement. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Brandon Doucette is a dentist and founder of the Coalition for Dental Care. It's 12:32, 1:32 in the Mountain Time Zone. And coming up in our next half hour, we would like to hear from you on your favorite winter adventures. So what are your favorite winter weather activities? What is still on your bucket list? What do you want to try out? Love to hear from you. We'll have that conversation after the CBC News Update with Robert Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. Human rights group Amnesty International has issued a new report critical of the Wet'suwet'en people opposed to the construction of the Coastal GasLink pipeline through their territory. The agency says the First Nation members have faced intimidation and harassment in their resistance to the pipeline. Amnesty is calling for an immediate stoppage. Coastal GasLink says it has signed agreements with 20 elected band councils to proceed with the work. As we've been hearing on the show, the federal government has unveiled a $13 billion dental care program. It will cover routine dental procedures for families that earn less than $90,000 a year and don't have private insurance. And police in Kamloops have arrested a man wanted for impersonating a police officer. He was picked up last Wednesday following a joint investigation with federal agents that began in November. RCMP say more details will be released when charges are approved. And now the forecast. Wind warnings are up for Haida Gwaii and sections of the north coast with gusts up to 110 kilometers an hour. Highs up to -1 with some sunshine this afternoon in the Peace. In the central interior, mainly cloudy with a high of -3. Highs from 0 to 3 with a mix of sun and cloud in the West Kootenay, mainly cloudy in the East Kootenay. In the southern interior, mainly cloudy with a high of 2. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria, and the Fraser Valley, some sunshine this afternoon with highs around 8 degrees. I'll have more local news at the top of the hour. Now back to Michelle with BC Today.
I know you do like to be outdoors, at least to play tennis. Is
That's
there something, something winter related that you enjoy?
Sure. I've got a 5-day pass at Whistler for snowboarding this year. Yes, so I'm looking forward to that.
Way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a very good snowboarder. I'll just tell you that now.
Well, you don't have to be very
That's
good.
true.
Just get out there, Michelle.
Yeah, that's true. I had a blast that one time I tried it.
Oh, you've only tried it once?
I've only tried it once. I've never been back.
Maybe you got to give it another try.
I think that's what I keep hearing, right?
Yeah.
The first time is always the worst time.
Did you land on your head?
No,
If you didn't
but on
land
my
on your
back many
head,
times.
then go back, right?
I'll go again. Hey, you've got a pass. I'm just joking.
Sure.
Rob, thanks so much.
Okay.
Rob Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. Welcome back. You're with BC Today here on CBC. I'm Michelle Eliot. Very nice to have you with us. We are, of course, live on radio, 88.1 FM in Metro Vancouver, and we're live streaming as well on the CBC News app, on the CBC Vancouver YouTube page, and on our website, cbc.ca/BC. And yes, avid snowboarders and skiers can rejoice. There has been some lack of snow this year. That's delayed openings for ski resorts in BC, but many have now opened at least a portion of their runs. And whether it is that, or snowshoeing, or sledding, or ice skating, we want to hear about your favorite winter weather activity. And is there something that you still want to try? Yes, I do want to try snowboarding once again. Do you have any questions for how to get started? What is on your BC winter bucket list? You can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your phone as well, or you can email us bctoday at cbc.ca is our email address. Joining me right now is Taryn Eiton, a hiker, adventure traveler, and author of the book Backpacking in Southwestern British Columbia, The Essential Guide to Overnight Hiking Trails. And Taryn joins me from Squamish. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Not a bad place to join us and to talk about winter weather and activities.
Yeah, it's actually a beautiful sunny day. I can see the snowy mountains today in Squamish, which is better than I can say for the last few days, for
Yes,
sure.
I can imagine. That's right. What are your favorite spots to go in Squamish anyway?
I really love the Sea to Sky Gondola. It's such a
Yes.
great place to get easy access into the mountains with reliable snow.
Yeah, reliable snow. There it is. And I know that you have always been active when it comes to snowshoeing, but how did this all start for you?
I grew up in New Westminster, and my dad had a friend who taught high school and had access to a bunch of snowshoes. So every winter, he used to borrow snowshoes for us a couple times, and we would go up Mount Seymour to Dog Mountain or up to Pump Peak on snowshoes. And so it's something I've been doing since I was a teenager.
Wow. What was it like for you to discover it?
Like growing up in New Westminster, I didn't grow up in a skiing family,
Yeah.
so snow in the city once or twice a year was pretty exciting. So to discover that we could drive up to the mountains and do something as easy to learn and as inexpensive as snowshoeing, was pretty cool.
And we're about to show some photos that you have sent us, Taryn, this is from last winter. So if you're on our live stream right now, you can see a photo from the Sea to Sky Gondola. I love that view from the top there at Lost Lake, snowshoeing there. This one is at Grouse. What a gorgeous sunny day that was. You're above the clouds. And I have done this trail, the train wreck trail, in the summer anyway, but not in the winter. And there's a photo of you at Dakota Ridge snowshoeing as well. Why snowshoeing? What is it about snowshoeing that is perhaps, makes it fun and accessible for people in the winter?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about snowshoeing is it doesn't require any special training. If you can walk, you can snowshoe, and it lets you keep hiking all year long.
Yeah. What is that experience? Can you we've shown the photos just now. They look stunning. But can you describe the feeling of being out there for our audience? What is that experience like?
I mean, the forest and the mountains in winter are a lot different than they are in summer. The snow makes everything really quiet, which is interesting, and also really bright on sunny days when it reflects off the snow. So somewhere that you've been, a dozen times before looks completely different in winter, and it's kind of magical.
You're right. It gets very, very quiet. I mean, even in the city when the snow falls, right? It just muffles the sound there. Now, you said it's different. It's a different experience. And so it can be a surprising experience as well if you don't know what to expect. And if you've only been out in the summer, what should people keep in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to scare anybody away from going out in the winter. I think if you're prepared, it's such a rewarding thing to do. But I also think it's really important to remember that the winter, winter recreation is so much more different than summer recreation. And in a lot of ways, winter wants to hurt you. There's so many ways.
I thought you didn't want to scare us.
I know. I don't want to scare you. I just want to remind you that winter wants you to freeze to death and fall in a hole and get hit by an avalanche and slip down a slope. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
This is a bad movie.
It's all true. It's all true. So yeah, I think it's really important to remember to dress warmly, to tell someone where you're going, to bring the 10 essentials, which is essential safety gear. You can find that information on Adventure Smart's website or my website, happiestoutdoors.ca. And also to learn about avalanche safety. So
Absolutely.
avalanche.ca is a great resource for that. There's lots of free information about avalanche safety, as well as if you decide that you're going to get really into snowshoeing, I really recommend taking their 2.5-day course.
Yes. And are these new courses that people can take?
The courses are not new. They've been around for decades. Traditionally, they were only offered to skiers, but in the last 10 or 15 years, they've been offered to snowshoers as well. There are dedicated snowshoe courses.
Okay, well, we want to hear from our audience as well. Would love to hear from you. Once the snow falls, what are your favorite outdoor activities? Even ice skating. I was down at Robson Square just last week, and it just put me in such a festive mood to see people ice skating at the rink there. And the music was playing, holiday music. It was Mariah Carey, but people just really enjoying themselves spinning round and round that rink. So let us know if that's something that you're planning to do over the next little while. Is it going to be snowshoeing or skiing, or perhaps maybe even just the après ski? Let us know what's your favorite winter weather activity in BC. It's 1-800-825-5950. 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone as well. My guest is Taryn Eiton, who's author of Southwestern British Columbia, The Essential Guide to Overnight Hiking Trails. And she mentioned her website there as well, happiestoutdoors.ca. Well, joining us now is someone who can talk about the skiing part of this. Trevor Hoheim is the head coach with a Big White Ski Club, and that's a nonprofit organization that trains young athletes. And Trevor joins us now from Kelowna. Hello there.
Hi, Michelle.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know we were trying to connect with you on Zoom and had some troubles there, so we have you on the phone. We don't see a view behind you. You're in Kelowna anyway, but I mean, what was Big White like over the weekend? Because you were finally able to ski.
Yeah, we were finally able to ski. It was, you know what? It was better than I thought. Everyone was wondering how it would be. There wasn't, the whole resort wasn't open
right
in its entirety, but it was fantastic. The kids had a lot of fun. We had fun, all the coaches. So, yeah, it just seemed like now we're finally arrived, and we just needed to keep snowing.
That's right. You just needed, fingers crossed. So,
Yeah.
yes, the opening had been pushed back from November 23rd to the 30th and then December 5th. Were the kids just so eager, just waiting for things to move up?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they would ask me, are we going to be skiing this weekend? And of course, just as long as everyone crosses their fingers, we will be.
And your toes.
Yeah, it was a funny year. It was cold enough all in November. Just it was sunny and dry, and then that system that came in early December was so wet, which I normally would be fantastic, but with that, I think it just blew in so quick. It brought in all this warm air. So yeah, unusual. I've only seen that a couple times.
Is that right?
30, yeah, but. Usually, before you know it, things settle out and it's a normal year. I'm sure by January, people will, oh yeah, I guess we did start late, but we'll be well into it.
We're in the middle of it now. And you just mentioned you've been doing this for 30 years?
Yeah, I guess. Oh, I did mention that, didn't I? Yeah. No, I'm slowly getting the hang of it. Year 32, I think. So.
Well, how did skiing become such a big part of your life, Trevor?
Oh, skiing. Well, I was a ski racer.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually 32 clubs in BC, so
wow.
There's one close to everybody. But this was my home club. I love skiing. I love racing. Retired at the ripe old age of 20, and the head coach at the time. Wow. Yeah, ran up by me. Hey, I need someone to, coach the older kids, go to all the races. And I'm like, well, I need a break. So I turned him down. So he was smart. He waited till October and said, well, you got anything lined up this winter? And I went, no. Okay, I'll do it for 1 year.
Yeah.
Year 1, Michelle. And this is year 32.
That's right. Here we are.
I didn't realize how much fun it would be.
Yeah. Well, what is it about being able to teach teens who are competing? Why does that keep you coming back year after year?
Well, this is my analogy. If there was no such thing as children, and you really wanted to build snowmen or snow angels, the first day of winter when it snows, would you run out there by yourself or with some other adults and build a snowman? I mean, it's probably going to be boring. They're going to talk about A strike in the news or world
Work.
politics. Yeah, work.
Yeah.
But with kids, it's fun.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that's true. That's very, very true.
Totally. So it's the kids that keep it fun.
Yeah.
Yes, I've skied, how many hours have I skied? How many days? I mean, lifetimes. But it's fun every day because it's new kids and it's new for them. So
That's wonderful.
they're having fun and you're having fun. So
Yeah. And I'd love to ask you as
rolling.
Yeah, I'd love to ask you as well about getting kids into skiing and perhaps even adults. I've never skied before, so I'd like to ask you some questions. But we have a question right now for Taryn. My guests are Taryn Eiton, hiker, adventure traveler, and author of Backpacking in Southwestern British Columbia. Trevor Hoheim is the head coach with a Big White Ski Club. And you can call us with your questions if you want to try something out, what's on your BC winter bucket list. If you need some advice, love to hear from you. 1-800-825-5950. 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. And Tristan is joining us from Richmond. Hi, Tristan.
Hi there.
Hi. What is it that you'd like to try out?
I've recently invested in my very first pair of snowshoes after trying it once or twice. And given that with El Nino, there might not be as much snow in the North Shore Mountains this year, I was curious if there's any recommendations for going up to Whistler or the Callahan Valley to snowshoe around there. Any novice trails?
Great question. And Taryn is just the right person to respond to that. Taryn?
Yeah, I think your idea to go to Whistler is definitely a good one if there isn't a lot of snow on the North Shore. Definitely more consistent snow. For beginner-friendly trails, I would definitely recommend Callahan and Whistler Olympic Park. They have a set of paid trails there. They have quite a few trails. I think the total network is over 30 kilometers, like more than you could possibly do in a single visit. But the best thing to do there, and hopefully we get cold enough weather for this, is you can snowshoe to the base of Alexander Falls, which is quite a tall waterfall. And when it's frozen, it's really spectacular.
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing. And Tristan, what made you buy yourself a pair of snowshoes and try it out?
Well, just trying to stay active through the winter and not be trapped indoors. I used to snowboard, but successive injuries sort of limited that option for me.
Right. Oh, wow. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Well, thanks so much. Anything else you want to ask?
No, that was everything. Thank you so much for the recommendation.
Yes. So good to hear from you, Tristan. All the best. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Sandra is up next in Vancouver now with a question about avalanche courses. Hi, Sandra.
Hi there.
Thanks for calling. What did you want to know?
I'm just wondering where we would be able to access these avalanche courses, and does Cypress or Grouse or Seymour offer them? And is there a website that we go to sign up for something? And also, second question, is there a dedicated snowshoe trail map for the local mountains or Sea to Sky corridor?
Oh, wow. These are great questions. And I think it's probably BC Adventure Smart, but I will let Taryn answer that. Sandra, thanks so much. And I want to go back to you if you don't mind holding on the line. So Taryn, where would be best to sign up for these avalanche courses?
So they're all managed through avalanche.ca, which is Avalanche Canada. They're a nonprofit. You can sign up for a 2.5-day course through them. So all of the courses are run through guiding companies and things like that. So they do take place at local North Shore mountains in Vancouver, but they aren't run by the mountains. They're run by mountain guiding companies. And avalanche.ca also has a free online course you can take that's like an intro course. That is a great thing to take if it's not in your budget to take a 2.5-day course, or if you're not sure if you're serious about going into that sort of more advanced terrain, you can take the online course and see what it's about.
Okay. And what about a dedicated snowshoe trail map for the coastal mountains?
I'm sad to say nothing exists. The trouble with snowshoeing is that quite often snowshoe routes follow routes that are not trails in the summertime. Once the snow blankets all the lower underbrush, and you can walk almost anywhere. So there are lots of places where you follow a summer trail, but there are lots of places where there's just informal trails in the winter, sometimes marked by reflective wands in the snow, but they change year to year depending on conditions. So yeah, there isn't really there's no one resource I can point you to for a snowshoe map. You can look at like for places that have paid trails, like ski resorts, they'll have their own maps. For places there are trails in BC parks, there might be winter maps. You can also look at resources like things like All Trails that might have some snowshoe routes, but they're also crowdsourced and usually derived from summer routes, so they're not that reliable. So unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for you there.
And are there groups perhaps that she can sign up for if she's worried about going, and finding her way and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so most of the places that have paid trails will also offer guided snowshoe outings. Some of them are really fun, where they'll take you out at night to snowshoe under the full moon. And then there are also a lot of outdoor clubs. If you sign up for an outdoor club in your area, they might have guided snowshoe trips. But yeah, there aren't a ton of formal resources.
It sounds like something you might be interested in doing, Taryn. You would be excellent at it anyway. And Sandra, what made you think about taking an Avalanche course this year?
Well, I've been thinking about it and considering it over the years, and I've always just thought it happens up at Whistler, and it's mainly for skiers.
Right.
But yes, I'm thinking if you're just off on the trail somewhere up on Cypress, for example, and you're not on a dedicated snowshoe trail, then it probably is a really good idea that you have the Avalanche course. So something closer to home, for one thing, and other than the ski aspect, which is sort of bigger backcountry skiing, it's a sort of a separate kettle of fish to local snowshoeing, but it's equally as important. So
yeah, absolutely, very important. Sandra, thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from that question and answer. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, and thanks for the answers. Great, super. I'll check those out. Thank you.
Take care. Stay safe. And Trevor, what about for you? Any safety advice, and what kinds of preparations should people be making as they head out to ski?
Yeah, even when you're staying in downs in the resorts, you definitely want to prepare for anything. Having a whistle on your jacket is a good idea. These days, it's a good idea to know your resort if there's any spotty patches with cell service. Bringing a phone is still a good idea, but for the most part, all the resorts, if you stay inbounds, you're usually you're going to stay safe for sure. But when there's big snowfalls, you want to know exactly what to do and what to watch out for. If you're near trees, I mean, we've all heard that it is a danger falling in a tree well. It can happen. So, things like that. If you're a beginner, to stay on the areas where, for learning, you're not going to go off the runs and put yourself in danger. Yeah.
Can imagine. Let's take some more calls here. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733 are our phone numbers if you want to give us a call and let us know what your favorite winter weather activities are, snow adventures, favorite ones in BC, and if there is something on your winter bucket list. We would love to hear from you as well. Mary is up next now in Souk, and let us know what you're planning, Mary. Hi.
Hi, I'm having a hard time hearing you, so forgive me if I don't come across with the speak when you want me to speak. I'm going to refer to my experiences winter camping in the Yukon Territory, or actually, to be more honest, in British Columbia, because there's a little slice of BC south of the Yukon, which is very famous and infamous in some cases for winter skiing. Well, actually, it's late winter, early spring skiing, and snowshoeing and snowboarding and skidooing and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so do you have any tips from having gone?
Yes. Well, first of all, it's a good idea to follow a trail. You don't want to be packing your own if you can help it.
Yeah.
Finding a snowmobile trail is really helpful. And when if you're going to go overnight, don't go alone, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
But you're going to be bringing a tent. Well, the tent was probably not designed for putting up in snow. So my tip is pack down the area where you want to have your tent really, really well. Like stomp around it and back and forth, and then go away someplace for about half an hour and let it set up.
Wow.
Because if you don't do that, the snow is going to be bottomless, and you're going to put the tent up and you're going to crawl in it, and you're going to end up engulfed in your tent.
You don't want that. So give it that stability by packing
That's right.
it. Yeah. Mary.
So after you've got your tent site, then you want to put up your tent. Well, how do you put in? You can't put in tent pegs in the winter, right?
Yeah. So
you take plastic bags and put a fist-sized piece of snow in it, pack it down, tie that to the places where you would normally put tent pegs, and bury them.
Right.
And stomp them down.
Mary, Taryn, I'm going to ask you to follow up on that, but thank you very much. Very useful advice. Are you going back?
I can't. I'm now handicapped, and I can hardly walk, much less ski. But for 20, 40 years, I went winter camping in March and April, which you can do in the Yukon because the snow sets up so nicely.
Up there, yeah. Well, your advice and your experience has been very helpful. Thanks so much for the call, Mary.
Okay, certainly.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And Taryn, I mean, you wrote the book on this overnight camping, overnight hiking. What do you make of her tips?
Yeah, I think those are some great tips. There are, I mean, I could probably spend an hour talking to you about tips for winter camping. There are a lot of them. I think the number one tip I would have for winter campers is a lot of people really focus on having a good tent or having a really warm sleeping bag, and those are really important. But I think that the thing that people miss out is that what insulates you from the ground is the pad that you sleep on, your sleeping mat or pad, and making sure that you have one with lots of insulation is really the key to staying warm.
That's a really good piece of advice. And Trevor, any last tip you'd like to leave our listeners with if they want to try skiing for the first time?
Well, you know what? I don't want to tell anybody to be too cautious, but definitely worth, if you're new to skiing, wait for a little more snow and wait for those sunny days. You know, that's everybody loves a snowstorm, but if you're new, there's nothing like a perfect day when everything's well covered and you can see. So
it's good.
That would be my advice for new skiers.
Good, very good to emphasize caution, both of you, as you have done this half hour. Thank you so much. All the best. Enjoy the season.
Thank you, Michelle.
Take care. Trevor Hoheim is program director and head coach at the Big White Ski Club, and Taryn Eiton is an adventure traveler and author. I'm Michelle Eliot. That's our show. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow.